Hello everyone, friends. Welcome to a new chess video. I promise you that today you're going to enjoy this like never before because I'm bringing you one of the most beautiful games in history. And that's even though it was played almost 200 years ago. The player with the white pieces was Anderson, who was playing against one of his students. Even today, it's still considered the best or one of the most beautiful and best games in history. Why? I'm going to show it today on this board because I want you to see the engine bar. In case someone doesn't know how this bar works, if the bar is more white than black, it means white is better. And on the other hand, if it's more black than white, it means black is better. So we're going to use a bit of technology to make the video even more interesting and to help us learn even more. The game continues with knight to f3 and knight to c6. And bishop to c4, so now we find ourselves in an Italian opening. Black pieces here, as you know, have two main options. Knight to f6, yeah. Or you can also play bishop to c5, which is what was played in the game. It's one of the most popular defenses in the history of chess. Here, if we look at the engine, the most popular moves it suggests are c3. We could also play d3 or castle. These are the most popular options, right? But here, Anderson played one of his channel's favorite gambits, which is the Evans Gambit with the move bishop 4. Alright, so what is Anderson doing with his gambit? First of all, he's asking that bishop what it wants to do, because if it wants to stay here, I'm going to capture it. So Anderson even prefers to lose a pawn in exchange for the initiative. And you'll see that this gambit is extremely strong. You already know that if you want to study it well, there are videos on this channel. When you finish this video, search for Chess Teacher Evans Gambit, and you'll find plenty of videos about this gambit. The idea here is that, logically, the best option is to capture this pawn, and the good move white has here, as you can see, would be castling or playing c3. My favorite, without a doubt, is c3. Alright, this position, according to the engines, as you can see, they like it a little more for black because they have that extra pawn and don't see enough compensation for it. But you already know that for humans, what the engine says isn't always 100% accurate, since we humans can't find all the continuations the engine does, not even Magnus Carlsen. The idea is that now white has given up a pawn, so their hope is, I don't care about the material, so to speak, okay? What I want is to maintain a strong initiative. We've already seen this in several openings, and especially in several games. So here, look at the move Anderson plays, which I find very interesting. d4. Alright, it seems like a normal move, right? I'm taking control of the center, right? I'm placing a strong pawn presence in the center of the board, and I have good development. The idea is that this d4 is giving up another pawn. Take a close look. At this moment, how many pieces are attacking this pawn? By 1 and by 2, right? And how many pieces are defending it? 1, 2, and 3. Careful. This pawn isn't defending because it's completely pinned. It's important to master pins, alright? So here, after capturing this pawn, even though you could play knight takes pawn, okay? That would be an interesting option. You can already see that the engines don't mark it as a good move, but instead they highlight as a good move the one Anderson played, short castling. Very interesting. 2 pawns have already been given away, right? 2 pawns up for the black pieces. However, here they could recapture a third and be 3 pawns ahead. Well, capturing this pawn is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. If you look closely, and I'll show you, and that's why we can bring these inhuman friends that help us so much to understand positions, black would have 3 extra pawns here, right? So how is it possible that the bar is completely equal or even slightly better for the white pieces? If we're down 3 pawns and the game is equal, it means our position is incredibly better than our opponent's, because if we're equal with 3 pawns less, just imagine, right? So I'm going to take back this move, and what Anderson's student did was push this pawn forward. A very interesting move. What is Anderson's idea against this move? Well, he would start attacking with the queen along the diagonal. As you can see, this Evans Gambit has many attacking variations. The good thing about these gambits is that we can be creative. We don't always use the same attack. We can use several different attacks. In this case, since so many lines open up because we've sacrificed pawns, We can, for example, bring out our queen and bishop on this side here, attacking the f7 square. It would be a mistake to place this knight on h6 right now. Why? Because we would simply take it out and then come in through f7 anyway. The only logical move here, aside from queen to e7, is queen to f6, right? That's exactly what happened in the game. Anderson keeps up the pressure with e5. You'll see that you're going to enjoy this game more and more. The queen is being threatened. Could the knight capture this pawn now? That would be a complete mistake. Why? Because after knight takes d5, we could simply continue. Sorry, I moved the camera. Let me put it back in place. I hope you can forgive me, okay? We could continue with rook to e1, pinning this knight. That way, which would almost certainly lose the piece. Or we could even play knight takes knight, queen takes, and then try to play rook to e1 once it's defended. However, here the black pieces would have time to defend, so the best move would be knight takes and then rook to e1 directly. What actually happened is that, logically, black didn't capture this pawn, but instead moved their queen away, which is, of course, a much better move. And they place it on this excellent square here, g6, because it does two things. It defends their passed pawn. It's extremely important to keep passed pawns in mind, okay? I'm going to show you how to properly defend a passed pawn in the future, because it's crucial. And also, they're threatening us with a possible mate down the line. The game continues with rook to e1, placing the rook on the open file. The knight from g moves to e7, since it can't go out via f6, and Anderson keeps developing his bishops, which cut like ham knives, right? Now they're directly taking control of the diagonals that point toward the king. Well, here, black is starting to realize that even though their position isn't bad, it's very complicated to play. So they say, well, I'm going to do something. I'll give you this pawn since I already have two extra pawns. Losing one doesn't matter to me. With what idea? With the idea of destabilizing your queen on this file. This file is very good for the queen, so if I put the rook there, sometimes, as you can see, giving up a pawn can be interesting, right? Because it gives you other advantages, even though, as you can see, computers don't really like it much. Queen to a4, and the game continues with this bishop to b6. This bishop improves its position and points directly at our castled king. Knight from b2, the pieces keep developing, and now it's black who is becoming more active. He places both bishops, aiming at the white king. Knight to e4. Naturally, the pieces are jumping around. The queen improves her position, and now bishop takes pawn. All right, let's look at the current situation, because right now we need to pause for a moment. We've recovered the two pawns we were down, so what has happened to the white pieces bar? It's gone up consistently. Do you see? That's because our position was much better. When we recover the pawns, our position is winning. What is being threatened right now with this bishop takes pawn? The threat is clear, right? Knight to d6 check, and I take the queen because it's a discover check. So even if they capture our knight, we could take the queen with the bishop, right? So that queen absolutely has to move out of the way. In this case, it moves to the h5 square. First move that's really good by Anderson in this game, and quite surprising. You know, you can always pause the video to see if you can find the move. This spectacular move was the following. Knight to f6, check. Well, as you can see, the engine doesn't consider it the best option, not by a long shot. What does the engine consider the best move here? I'll show you. It suggests knight to g3 is the best move, and it looks really interesting because that queen is running out of squares, and you could keep attacking it with this bishop, which would be pretty dangerous, right? So here, anyway, no matter how much the engine says this move is better, I'm going to take a move back to see if it lets me, because sometimes I still get confused with these tough chess positions. There it is. Knight to f6 is a spectacular move. In my opinion, it gives check and I take the queen. So it absolutely forces them to take the knight. You see it, right? So the idea is that it's not really a knight sacrifice, because after the recapture, the rook's pin on the knight is activated. It's super important to really understand absolute and relative pins. Don't worry, because later on I'm going to explain in detail how to stop the passed pawn, how to use pins, and all that. And now this knight is definitely going to be taken. The player with the black pieces finds a brutal move here. Really good. The best in the position. Rook to g8. What is rook to g8 threatening? Do you see it? The threat is obvious. Queen takes knight. Right? Why? Because this pawn is completely pinned, so the knight is defenseless. The threat is queen takes knight. And here is where Anderson's brilliance begins, making this game one of the most beautiful in the entire history of chess. At this point, I'm sure many of you are already seeing tactical ideas like rook takes knight, check. If this queen moves, I'm not sure how it could get in. Maybe with the bishop, since the queen is also aiming here, but I just can't quite see anything concrete to finish this game. Well, Anderson's move was incredible. Everything is being threatened over here, and he plays the subtle move, rook from A to D1. Do the engines like this move? Well, it seems it depends on which engine you ask. For example, right now I have Stockfish set up here, and Stockfish says this is a big advantage for the black pieces. If you use, for example, AlphaZero, it says it's an equal position. What's going on? That many times the engines aren't able to process all the information that a chess game gives them. It seems impossible, right? But it's absolutely true. And here is where the really, really, really beautiful part of the game begins, and I'm absolutely sure you're going to enjoy it a lot. So please, leave me a big like if you're enjoying this video, because it would make me extremely happy. He captures the knight. Obviously, he takes the bait. Right now, virtually, black has 2 extra pieces, since they've captured this knight and the other one. Although this knight will probably be lost, this is where Anderson's masterpiece begins. Are you ready for this move? Rook takes knight. Check. Now, the engines are already calling it equal again, right? They go a little crazy. You can see then the magnitude and beauty of this game, which even the engines can barely understand. That's why I thought it was so interesting to bring the engine here for you as well. Right now, the most logical move for black would be to move the king to d8, and that would lead to a very equal position. Right? However, logically, that wouldn't add to the beauty of the game, and the player with the black pieces accepted the sacrifice and took the rook, without knowing what was coming for him. As you can see, the evaluation bar has shot up, because here there's a move that's truly admirable. And the move is the following, my friends. Queen takes d7, check. A queen sacrifice for a pawn. He sacrificed the knight, then the other knight, then the rook, and finally he sacrifices the queen. This king can't move away, because if he tries, bishop takes knight is checkmate, so the only option is to capture. Once this queen is captured, she exposes the rook, and then comes this bishop check on f5. The king has to move, and if he moves forward, which is one of the only 2 squares he can go to, the bishop simply comes to deliver checkmate on d7, so it seems like the best defense is to go back, but the game continues like this. Bishop to d7, check, whether the king goes to d8 or f8. Bishop takes knight, and it ends up being checkmate with both bishops. Don't tell me that's not spectacular. Just as spectacular as this board I brought here, which I didn't want to bother you by talking about in the middle of the game. But if you liked it and would like to have it at home, you know that whenever I bring a new board to the channel, I talk to the suppliers so they can give you a discount. A discount for all of you, okay? So you already know that if you want to have this amazing board, you can play against bots, play online with chess.com, do puzzles, study, there's a career mode, clocks, whatever you want. I'll leave it for you in the description with a pretty juicy discount. Of course, it's a very expensive board, obviously, but it's true that prices have dropped around this time of year. And on top of that, with my discount, which is the discount code ChessTeacher, or if you just use the link, the discount is applied automatically. You'll get it at an incredible price. It's up to you. I don't mind whether you get it or not. I'm just telling you that I really like it. And if you want it, you have that discount. I hope you loved this video, because honestly, it's amazing. This game is amazing. And if you're subscribed to the channel, I'll see you tomorrow in the next video, friends. Bye.